Is it possible to like just
Yeah,
get rid of the fear?
it is. It is. At the highest levels of human development, you can eradicate all those negative qualities, which then allows your positive qualities, which are innate, to flourish. This is true in the spiritual traditions. It's, it's talked about in the yoga tradition and Tibetan mental practices of Tibetan Buddhism and Zazen and Mahamudra and stuff like that. The idea is that the negative qualities are essentially programmed into us both epigenetically and through early childhood, and also through our social kind of languaging. And but it's not natural. The only quality of fear that is natural is a primordial fear of loss of your actual physical existence. And even that can be overcome through practice. Naturally, we're born with, these all these incredible innate positive qualities, such as the capacity for compassion. That's a really powerful one. Generosity of spirit, calmness, patience, peace, equanimity. These are really profound positive qualities, but they're obscured by the negative qualities. So this is, actually a problem with positive psychology, because if you just pretend to be positive by saying happy, glad type things, you're not doing anything to eradicate the negative qualities. So when you're not, saying the happy, glad things, the negative qualities still are, kind of stewing inside of you, right? So you've got to literally starve the fear by eradicating the negative qualities, by working on exposing them, understanding their root, and then reacquainting yourself with the aspects of yourself that got wounded when that happened, and then basically recontextualizing that and adding a different energetic quality to the experience of the emotional energy that that is tied to that story, that emotional shadow story. So that's the work of Western psychology. One of the greatest contributions to humanity is Western psychology. The other one is Eastern mysticism and spiritual or meditation traditions. You put those two together and you've got a 1-2 punch for developing mental, highest stages of mental development, as well as emotional awareness and control. And that's really what we're looking for. One of my mentors and friends is Ken Wilber, and I love how Ken even, had to come to this conclusion through a long process of his own discovery. For a long time, he was working on, what we'll call waking up, growing up, and showing up. Waking up is the process of awakening to the bigger story of your life, which is that you're a spiritual being having this human existence, that you're capable of so much more than you're taught, that you can awaken to this reality through mental practices like meditation, concentration, and mindfulness. And then you can, through that process, you can also trigger growth. But growth is growing up through the developmental stages, transpersonal developmental stages that have been mapped in Western psychology. And most people get kind of stuck at the stage that their parents or their dominant culture. But we can grow beyond that. Once we have the map, even just examining the map and recognizing where we are on that map, it can become a psychoactive process. So the combination of waking up and growing up are really powerful. But even if you're well on your way in those different practices of waking up and growing up, you can still get stuck if you haven't done, or if you don't do the emotional work of clearing up your past shadow. So these three aspects work together: wake up, grow up, and clear up your emotional shadow so that you can show up fully, authentically, right? Excuse me, in your leadership roles and with your family and whatnot.
We're in tight.
Thank you.
That was so good. And I just so love and appreciate the way you integrate all these different wisdom traditions. Ken Wilber's brilliant as, stages of development.
Right.
Talking about transcending and including a lot, but it's clear in your books. It's clear just in your response. And it's so important, that we not shy away from these different pieces of ourselves and do that emotional work along with the mental work, the spiritual work. It all kind of comes together. I love the way that you articulate that, both in your books and here with us today. So thank you.
Unbeatable Mind, Michael, is, essentially a program of reintegration, right? So we look at the human as a whole, the whole being, right? And we look at the mind as occupying every aspect of the body-mind system. So but that's contrary to the way we're taught in Western civilization, Western academia. We're taught to look at these things as like separate compartments. We have the physical being, which is dissectable or examinable, like through neuroscience and brain waves and whatnot. And then we have, the mental piece, which is kind of like psychological processing, right? And even that gets conflated down often to its physical correlate, which are like neuroscience, the neuropeptides and the neurochemicals and neuroplasticity, for instance.
Yeah.
The emotional piece, that's kind of something that is way off to the left, and you do it if you get if you have a problem, or if your wife drags you by the ear to the therapist, right? And then that may open up some emotional development. And so it's also considered somewhat separate, like, oh, I have my emotional life, but I'll tuck that away and not have to worry too much about it. And hopefully it doesn't, get in the way.
Yeah.
Same thing with spiritual. Like, spiritual is more of a concept for a lot of people. Like, it has to do with a belief in a higher power. And we're going to like connect with that on Sundays when I go to church. So I look at all that and say, you know what, the reality is, from my perspective, is these are all integrated into one experience that we call life. You can't separate them. So you've got to address the physical, the mental, the emotional, the intuitional, and the spiritual, all together. And so we like to train them all together so that we can access all of them, integrate them, and then operate from that whole mind, whole person perspective. And when you do that, then, man, life just takes on a much more rarefied form, and you have great care and concern, and compassion starts to open up because you're really connecting to that courage wolf that resides in your heart and acting from that perspective. And you're able to be much more present and, bring more of yourself into your relationships.
Hi, this is Michael, the head coach at Optimize, and I hope that you enjoyed that wisdom from one of our brilliant Luminary Guest Faculty members. For more on Optimize Coach, head to www.optimize.me/coach. It is time. Let's master ourselves, serve heroically, and empower others to do the same. Closing the gap between who we're capable of being and who we're actually being, more and more consistently expressing the best versions of ourselves. That is how we change the world, one person at a time, together, starting with you and with us today. And that, of course, is what Optimize Coach is all about. Head to this site for more information, and to join us, Class 3 starts soon.